H.G. Wells. A name you know, woven into the very fabric of science fiction. But behind legendary tales like The Time Machine, The War of the Worlds, and The Invisible Man was a life far more dramatic, painful, and visionary than even the stories he created. This is the untold story of Herbert George Wells, the man who saw the future long before the world was ready. H.G. Wells was born in 1866 into a struggling English family. His father was a part-time cricket player and a not-so-successful shopkeeper. His mother was a lady's maid. They dreamed of a better life for their children, but the rigid class system of the time seemed determined to hold them down. Then, when Herbert was just 8 years old, disaster struck. A terrible accident left him with a broken leg, bedridden for weeks on end. It was a miserable time. But it was also the moment that ignited his destiny. Trapped in bed, Wells discovered the magic of books. He devoured everything he could get his hands on: adventure tales, science manuals, histories. And suddenly, the imagination of this poor boy from Bromley caught fire. But reality was never far behind. At 14, Wells was forced out of school and sent to work in a series of grueling apprenticeships. For endless hours, he worked in a draper's shop, repairing fabrics, watching time crawl by in a place where dreams went to die. He later said those years filled him with a deep-seated hatred for the class system and a burning desire to break free from the world's rules. His chance finally came when his mother helped him escape the shop and enroll in a small academy. There, his brilliance exploded. He earned a scholarship to what would become the Royal College of Science, where he studied under one of the greatest biologists of the age, T.H. Huxley, famously known as Darwin's bulldog. Under Huxley's mentorship, Wells fell in love with science, realizing it could be used not just to explain the world, but to imagine entirely new ones. In 1895, Wells published The Time Machine, a novel unlike anything readers had ever seen. A machine that could travel through centuries, a distant future where humanity had split into two separate species, and a chilling warning that civilization could decay into darkness. It was more than just a story, it felt like a prophecy. Next came The Island of Dr. Moreau, a terrifying tale of genetic manipulation, written decades before real scientists could even attempt it. Then came The Invisible Man, about a man made dangerous not by his power, but by his isolation. And in 1898, the book that truly shook the world, The War of the Worlds. Wells imagined an alien invasion with such terrifying realism that decades later, Orson Welles' radio adaptation famously sent listeners into a panic, believing Mars had actually attacked. But Wells wasn't just a storyteller. He was a thinker, a social critic, a man who believed science could either uplift humanity or destroy it. Long before nuclear weapons existed, Wells wrote about atomic bombs. Long before airplanes dominated warfare, he predicted aerial combat. And long before computers or the internet, he envisioned a world brain, a global network of knowledge accessible to every single person on the planet. He saw the wonders of the future, but he also saw its profound dangers. His personal life, however, was far from perfect. Wells struggled with relationships, lived passionately and controversially, and often clashed with the very society he hoped to improve. He wrote tirelessly about politics, class struggle, and human rights, dreaming of a utopian society even when reality fell far short of his ideals. As he grew older, Wells watched the world plunge into the two greatest wars in human history, realizing that many of his darkest predictions had come true. By the time he passed away in 1946, he felt that humanity had ignored too many of his warnings. But today, H.G. Wells is remembered not for his pessimism, but for his boundless imagination. He was a boy who grew up in poverty, who escaped his circumstances through stories, and who used science as a lens to examine the human soul. He forever shaped the future of fiction and our own vision of what's to come. This is the legacy of H.G. Wells, the man who dreamed of what humanity could become, and warned us of what we might turn into if we're not careful. Thanks for watching. If you found this story fascinating, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the lives that shaped our world. See you next time.